to make this an absolutely stupendous demonstration. Can you move forward, please? I think you have to move a bit more forward. Yes, of course, yes. Thank you for this, yeah, yeah, thank you. Welcome to this absolutely magnificent show of solidarity against the arms fair in Liverpool. We haven't got a lot of time because we've got to be leaving here in an hour's time. No, we've got to be leaving here at 1:30. So all I'd say is, thank everyone for coming along. Thanks to Alexi Sayre for sending a message on video that we've been able to tweet, and he wasn't able to come here today. And absolutely massive thank you to Massive Attack. I was thank you to Ken Lynch, who couldn't make it today, but he sends his solidarity and his healing spirit. Can I just say, we've also had a message from Andrew Feinstein. Andrew Feinstein, who was invited here, is going to be at the demonstration in London against their arms fair. Andrew Feinstein, of course, was an MP, an ANC MP. I'm going to just read his message, and I hope everybody can hear this. And Andrew says, a progressive city like Liverpool should not be hosting a fair for the corrupt merchants of death. The arms trade, which brings death, destruction and immiseration across the world, counts its profit in billions of pounds and its losses in human lives. For this fair to be taking place in a council-owned venue is indefensible and unforgivable. The council must understand that either the arms fair goes or the council leadership will be gone at the next election. If we do not stand up to the global trade in weapons and the corrupt politicians who enable and facilitate it, it will continue to make the world a more corrupt, a less democratic, a less just, and a less safe place for all of us. So thank you, Andrew, for that. Is Uda Amori here? Is Uda here? No, okay. But yes. Uda, do you want to say just a minute of your time, just to say, and Uda, very important woman here today, founder of Palestinian Action. Just one.
Hi everyone, this is incredible. Liverpool definitely does not want the arms fair here. I want to talk about a company called Elbit Systems. Just one of the war criminals who are due to exhibit at this arms fair. They are Israel's largest arms company. They literally market their weapons as tested because they test them on the captive population of Gaza, where the majority of the people are children. They test their weapons on Palestinians, they build them in 10 sites here across the UK, and then they sell them to other oppressive regimes to be used against oppressed people across the world. And we in Palestine Action have been going out and shutting Elbit down. In our first year, we shut them down for over 3 months. And I want to send a warning to Liverpool Arms Fair. We see you, we know what you're trying to do, and if you do not cancel this arms fair, then we will shut this arms fair down ourselves. Join Palestine Action.
Can you just want that woman? Fabulous. Can I just pass you over to Chantel? Chantel? Not ready. I'm not going to pass you over to Chantel because she's not ready. Hello, Liverpool! Thank you for turning up today in such numbers to show how we feel about this arms fair. I've written a few words down. War, guns and violence, what for? There's innocent people lying dead on the floor. Not in our yard. But what if they were? Do you think Western society might start to care? These wars are more genocidal than democratical. Stop. Think about where they're selling these machines. Are black and brown siblings fallen to oppressive regimes? Free Palestine. We've got politicians washing their hands of this, but now's the time to come together and make a stand on this. Wars, guns and violence, no more. Would you still sell those weapons if it was your child on the floor? Now, we have politicians in this city who are wringing their hands and saying they can't do anything about this arms fair. That is wrong. We, the organisers, know that if they come together, they can stop this arms fair from happening in our city. So I would like to call upon those politicians and our mayor to unite and take action. You are supposed to serve the people in this city. We are here and we are going to make so much noise that you cannot help but hear us. We are going to run out today and they are going to listen. So before I hand over the mic, I want to hear you roar. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair, out. Arms fair, out. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair, out. Arms fair, out. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair, out. Arms fair, out. Arms fair, out. Arms fair, out. Yeah, Liverpool!
The next speaker is Leonard Shivich, artist and activist, Labour councillor for Anfield. Leonard, alongside 3 of the councillors, Sam Gorst, Alison Clark and Dave Cummins, brought the Labour Party whip and voted for the Greens amendment. Leonard has her own experience of war in Yugoslavia.
Thank you, thank you. Hello Liverpool, and thank you for turning out in such massive numbers. So my name is Lana and I'm originally from Dubrovnik, and I have lived in Liverpool since 2000. And because I was born in Yugoslavia, I went through the Yugoslav war and saw the atrocities and lost friends on both sides as soldiers and civilians. And I have seen traumatic consequences of war on generations of people. So wars don't just stop when they end. There is effects of war going on long after for decades. And right now there are wars happening, and that will affect generations of people afterwards. And there are arms being manufactured and traded that ensure that this vicious cycle continues. And so profits from weapons are made because those weapons are successful. And when they do what they are meant to do, which is what they do is kill. And these are profits made from death and destruction of environment. And Liverpool must not allow that such profiteering happens in its ground.
So, I am a Labour Party councillor, and so I'm one of your elected representatives in this great city. And my mandate comes from you, from the people. So, you hold the power, and this is your city. And this ACC venue where the arms fair is to be held is actually owned by the Liverpool City Council, which means it's owned by you. So I urge you all to write to us, to put pressure on us as local councillors, to your MPs and to the mayor, and to state that you really need to cancel this arms fair. We have to work together from all of our different positions to press from all sides. As you know, Massive Attack cancelled its upcoming concert. And what's happening is that various trade unions will do the same, so the pressure is growing and your presence is having the effect. And here we are protesting on the streets to demand the directors of ACCs to stop this shameful and immoral event. Let's make sure that this deadly trade in weapons doesn't happen anywhere in the world, and particularly not in Liverpool. Thank you.
Right. Our next speaker is one MP, Dan Carden, trade unionist and socialist, son of a Liverpool ducker. Dan served in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet as shadow international development secretary. He called for Jeremy to be reinstated. Dan resigned. Dan resigned from Labour's front bench to vote against the Tory Spy Cops bill. His recent personal speech about addiction connected with so many people and showed his integrity, decency and real personal strength. Thank God, everyone.
Thank you, Tracy. Sisters and brothers, it's wonderful to be standing here today alongside you, taking a stand for something that matters. And we stand in the proud tradition of an anti-war movement that has tragically been proven right on the folly of so many disastrous military interventions that are unraveling and producing more human misery each day. Yet no lessons have been learned. Shamefully, the UK government still sells weapons with impunity to 2/3 of the countries on its own human rights watch list. We cannot and we should not bury our heads in the sand and ignore the role of the British state and British companies who arm regimes that systematically violate international humanitarian law. When I worked with Jeremy and John in Labour's shadow cabinet, we made it our policy to end arms sales to such regimes. We committed to end the grotesque incoherence between development and foreign policy that saw humanitarian aid sent to Yemen on the one hand, while selling weapons to the Saudi regime that was bombing them on the other. And that brings me to the reason we're here today. To say no to the merchants of death and destruction bringing their trade to our great city. And let's take a look at some of the companies on the invite list. Elbit describes its weaponry as battle tested after testing it on the Palestinian people. This includes the Hermes 900 drone, which was among the drones used in the 2014 invasion of Gaza that killed 164 Palestinian children. The American company Raytheon manufactures laser-guided missiles, which were used in an attack in 2019 that killed 6 civilians, 3 children in Yemen. Even President Biden has cancelled Raytheon arms sales to Saudi Arabia. These are just 2 examples of the misery and pain caused by the sale of arms to repressive administrations. And the Labour movement has a proud history of opposing weapons being sold to despotic regimes. When on this very day in 1973, a right-wing military coup seized power from the elected government in Chile and set about murdering thousands of trade unionists and human rights defenders. British trade unionists stopped UK arms sales to General Pinochet's regime. When activists were protesting against the arms trade on the roof of a weapons factory, it was FBU firefighters who refused to remove them. And when dock workers from Liverpool to Durban were instructed by bosses to load shipments of arms destined to be used in the onslaught in Gaza, they downed their tools and refused to comply. Workers do have a voice. That's the power of organised labour. It's not government, it's people who must defend human rights. And we should be outraged that arms dealers think they can ply their trade here in Liverpool, a city of migrants fleeing the great conflicts of the past. As a socialist, a trade unionist, a Labour MP and a Scouser, I say cancel this immoral event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Now we're going to hear from a woman, a real friend of the Labour movement. Only from down the road, originally down the road in Manchester. She's a stalwart of the British TV and cinema. She always takes up the fight for ordinary people. She's defended Corbyn. She's defended the Palestinians. She's never lost her politics. Maxine Peake recently played a fantastic film called Port Peterloo. I'm sure you've seen it. And now she'll be playing the wonderful Anne Williams in a film about Hillsborough. So let's welcome a real comrade, Maxine Peake.
Thank you. Hello, Liverpool. Bringing in my solidarity from Salford and Manchester and all the people who can't be here today. But no, I want a little bit of audience participation, following on from the magnificent and mighty Chantel, as she says, the louder we shout, the less they can ignore us. Now I'm going to do a reading of some lyrics that I'm sure you know. So when you feel the urge, join in, the louder the possible. Very nervous. Are we ready? War. What is it good for? War. What is it good for? War I despise, because it means destruction of innocent lives. War means tears to thousands of mothers' eyes when their children go to fight and lose their lives. War. What is it good for? Say it again. War. What is it good for? War isn't nothing but a heartbreaker. War, friend only to the undertaker, is an enemy to all mankind.
The point of war blows my mind. War has caused unrest within the younger generation. Induction, then destruction. Who wants to die? War. What is it good for? Say it again. War. What is it good for? War has shattered many a young person's dreams, made them disabled, bitter and mean. Life is much too precious and short to spend fighting these days. War can't give life, it can only take it away. War. What is it good for? Say it again. War. What is it good for? Peace, love and understanding. Tell me, is there no place for them today? They say we must fight for our freedom, but there has to be a better way. War. What is it good for? War. Stand up and shout, what is it good for? Thank you.
Hello, the next speaker is Natalie Bennett, who is leader of the Green Party 2012-2016.
Well, hello, Liverpool! It's great to be back, but I don't think I should have to be here, and you shouldn't have to be here either. You know, these arms peddlers, they tried to go to the Spanish city of Seville. The people of Seville said no, just as Liverpool, I've heard today, says no. But what happened in Seville was the city authorities also said no. And that they did the right thing, and the city of Liverpool is now doing the wrong thing, and we're here to fix that. We have a world that is awash with weapons, billions and billions and billions of pounds, many of them from the UK, pumped out into the world, into Yemen, where people, children, innocent people are dying. Let's think of the people of Yemen and send them a message of solidarity. That's just one case study. There are so many. So let's send a message of solidarity to every single person in the world who is now suffering because of a British arms system, a British weapon, British technology that they want to bring here to Liverpool. Let's say solidarity to everyone suffering from that war. Now, there are some people who say, oh, we've got to make these weapons because it creates jobs. No, absolutely not. We know a huge crisis facing the world. We face a climate crisis, a nature crisis. We have huge problems we have to tackle. So they used to say, beat swords into plowshares. Well, I say, and there's a great banner here somewhere, I can't see it now. Let's stop having nukes and support our NHS instead. We need to dedicate the efforts of our society, our economy, our people to a world that cares for everybody.
There are enough resources on this planet for everyone to have a decent life and to look after nature and climate if we just share them out fairly. That's a world without wars, a world that cares for people, and a world that certainly doesn't have arms fairs. And I'm confident, Liverpool, you are going to win. We're going to stop this arms fair. Good luck and let's keep going. Oh, sorry. Forgot what I was doing then. Okay. We have with us Drinka Bralo, who's from Migrants Organised, which is a national campaign for dignity and justice in our immigration system, which is absolutely well needed in the hostile environment that's been created by the Tories. And perhaps aided by some right-wing Labour as well, I have to say.
Thank you. I bring solidarity from London this morning. I lost my voice because I was shouting so much. So thank you. This is my first after lockdown action and it's absolutely brilliant. I came this morning from London, but 28 years ago, I came from the city after the siege, my city of Sarajevo, and I became an asylum seeker. And I was one of those, what they call bad refugees. And I was bad because I came on my own. And there were people the government picked at the time, and there were good Bosnian refugees. And I was actually working as a translator for them. And the guy who signed my paycheck also signed my refusal for asylum. Now, 28 years fast forward, we're watching what's happening in Afghanistan. And there are around 3,000 asylum seekers from Afghanistan already here, in addition to that really embarrassingly low number of 5,000 that government decided to resettle and bring over. So they don't want to give status to those who are already here because they're bad refugees like me, because they came here on their own, exercised some agency and choice and survival. But unlike me, they cannot work, they cannot be translators for new arrivals, they cannot study, they, in some cases when refused, cannot access NHS. We had to struggle really hard for Patients No Passports campaign to get them to get vaccinated. So that's all result of intentional policy in our country that is called by our government the hostile environment policy. Shame on that. And it's been going on for years. Actually, next year is going to be 10 years since Theresa May introduced it. And thousands of people suffered very quietly, and they've been penetrating our public services and our spaces, and they've been removing people from us. So you probably heard that during the pandemic, people were stuffed in disused barracks and almost all got COVID as a result. And many of them were coming from Afghanistan and from Yemen. And, you know, you don't even have to look at the headlines. You cannot avoid this gaslighting and propaganda about how they're going to make the waves to turn people on boats away and back to France. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting what's going on. And it's about time that we make a connection between the weapons and shiny things that they want to show down the road with what is happening in Afghanistan. In the last decade, while we're selling them hundreds of millions of pounds worth of weapons, we were also deporting 16,000 refugees from Afghanistan. And for those who stayed here, we made life completely impossible. So I know this is a city of solidarity, and we're organizing under the
banner of solidarity knows no borders. And I know that if anywhere in this country here, people will understand when we say we're not perpetrators. But there is one equally bad thing that we can be, and that is to be bystanders. Thank you, Liverpool, for not being bystanders. Solidarity! Thank you so much for all that you do, Shrimper. Absolutely amazing work. I'm just going to introduce now Deb Squin. She's going to tell us very, very briefly about a letter from the NEC of Hay Union, the NEU, which is one of the absolutely vital things that we must do if we're going to put pressure on our council to actually stop this arms fair. Here we are, Deb Gwynn.
Thank you, Liverpool. I am absolutely privileged and proud to speak here on behalf of the National Education Union. We hold regular national conferences at the Convention Centre in Liverpool, and we absolutely love coming to Liverpool. I've made it my home city. I love it that much. But when we found out about the arms fair, our joint general secretaries Kevin Courtney and Mary Balstead wrote a letter to the Convention Centre to say that we would have to seriously consider whether we held our national conference here again if they continued with the arms fair that's due to happen in October. And that was absolutely the right thing to do. And I think as a trade union movement, every single trade union that has ever used the Convention Centre or ever intends to use it in the future should do exactly the same thing. And let's put pressure on the Convention Centre and Liverpool City Council. Because if they think that there is profit to be made from war, they need to be told by the Labour movement and the trade union movement that that is not the case. The National Education Union has an absolutely fantastic record on international solidarity, and we do a huge amount of work with the Palestinian trade union, teach trade unions. We have delegations that go to Palestine. We absolutely support the fight of Palestine, and it will be absolutely hypocritical of us to have a conference in a convention centre that is perpetrating the arms to kill our comrades and colleagues in Palestine. So I urge every single trade union member out there today, I know there's a lot of you, write to your national executive, write to your general secretaries, urge them to write to the convention centre. And fantastic to see so many people here today. Solidarity from the NEU. Okay, everybody, our next speaker is a consistent supporter of the workers here in Liverpool. He was one of the first voices in Parliament 20 years ago to speak out against the war in Afghanistan, and he's been a consistent supporter of the Stop the War campaign. He doesn't really need any introduction, but it's John MacDonald.
Comrades, 70 years ago this week, I was born in this city. My family, like many others, moved south to find work, but my heart has always been in Liverpool. And I've always been proud of the people of Liverpool, because over the years, over generations, we've stood up against injustice and we've campaigned for peace, not war. That's why, like you, I'm angry. I'm fucking angry, actually. Very angry. That the traders in death and destruction and harm and human suffering think that they can come here and besmirch the reputation of our city. These are people who have made riches, made their companies, their directors, their investors wealthy. And the loss of life in Palestine, in Syria, in Afghanistan, Eritrea, Somalia, wherever weapons are sold, these are the companies that reap the profits. Do you know, all the way across the world. People are shouting examples. There is a generation after generation have suffered as a result of these who had blood on their hands, and they think they can come to our city and trade even more. You know, it's interesting, we need the cathedral. Let me just cite something from the New Testament. Some of you might know this story, that Jesus turned up one day at the temple. He saw the moneylending in the city, and he saw this as desecration. So he overturned the tables and threw them out. These arms traders are desecrating our city. So we need now. We need now to throw them out. And you know, if councillors in council chambers can't do it, well, you know, if it's not the council chamber, then it's the streets, and that's where we operate. I just want to say this briefly. I'm here with a friend, a comrade, over nearly 50 years, Jeremy Corbyn. He'll be speaking later. But I want to send a message to the leader of the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn has campaigned all his life, given his life to the peace movement. Not only is the sort of person we need in the Labour Party, he's the sort of person who needs the wit restored to him so he can speak. And I just remind you, what we proposed, Jeremy and I, when we were campaigning in these recent elections, we were going to ensure, as exactly as Dan said, that we banned all arms sales to these brutal regimes once and for all. That we introduced a policy that converted our arms industry into a productive force for the benefit of all. We also said that we would establish a ministry for peace. That dream is not over. That dream has to be fought for and won. And that's what this movement is all about. We're here to prevent this arms fair and ensure never again will these traders in blood besmirch the reputation of this city. But more importantly, we're here to dedicate ourselves to the movement and struggle for peace until we achieve peace and justice in this world. Final word from me, because every day I'm dealing with refugees and asylum seekers in my constituency. And you've seen the latest brutal policy brought forward by the Tories. I just want one final sentence. Asylum seekers are welcome here. Solidarity.
Thank you, John. And thank you to all of our magnificent speakers. Now, going to be very, very tolerant here because I've got some very bad news. We did promise you Loki. And he's got a really urgent family emergency. But he has sent us, only in the last few moments, a message. So I'd like to read the message out. And I haven't read it, so it's going to be a difficult thing to do. So bear with me. I hope I get it right. Our political system is hostage to the forces inside that building. I'm sure he means the ACC. When political figures from Theresa May to Rishi Sunak, to Ben Wallace, to Tony Blair, and the grandsons of Winston Churchill are either connected to or were employed by companies which directly benefit from the occupation of Afghanistan, we have to question who are their constituents. Are they us out here or them in there? I am so sorry I cannot join you. You stand and join you and stand shoulder to shoulder with you all today. But you represent the hopes and dreams of billions of people for a world without industrial mass murder. You represent the dreams of the people of the Yemen, some of the world's poorest people who have been driven to famine by BAE systems, sponsored war on their sanitation system, their farms, healthcare facilities, not to mention weddings, funerals and school buses. You represent the hopes of Palestinians in Gaza, targeted using BAE systems, hot technology in the F-16s Israel uses to kill them. We must assert life in the face of this festival of death. The lie they tell us that we need jobs in the arms industry, but in fact, as the heroes of the Lucas plan showed, we need the jobs socially useful machines can bring. Studies have shown that for every $1 billion invested in the arms trade, we get 11,000 jobs for that. The same $1 billion, you could get 16,800 jobs in clean energy, 17,200 jobs in healthcare, and 26,700 jobs in education. Enough of the lies and misallocation of resources. The late Robert Cook made the point that BAE Systems has the key to number 10 Downing Street. But you, all of you here today, make clear that the parasitical merchants of death will never have the keys to Liverpool. So, I think our gratitude come out even in his absence. Loki has really done Liverpool proud in opposing, supporting us in our opposition to this absolutely obscene affair. Now, I'm going to say to you now, please pay attention to this. We are going to head off very soon. And we are going to walk to Fountain, which is in William Brown Street, down the side of St George's Hall. But we're going to get you by this route, let me tell you. Don't move off yet. Mount Pleasant, we'll be marching down Mount Pleasant, then into Ramley Street, then into Church Street, then into Whitechapel, then into Crosshall Street, then Victoria Street, the Old Haymarket, and then up into William Brown Street. We're hearing from Jeremy Corbyn and a host of other speakers there. Now, all I'd say is, before we depart, can you wait until the front banners are there and make a very safe and orderly exit before you head off? We want to proceed with the coffin and the Grim Reaper, followed by all the colour that we can muster, all the noise we can muster, and get to our destination safely and orderly, but letting the people of Liverpool know that they should join us and make the noise that's louder than anything, that they cannot ignore the voices of the people of Liverpool. Take care now and get there safely. See you soon.
So, as you heard there, the march is about to move off down the hill and end up at St George's Hall. And I'm going to switch off for now and come back in a new broadcast, hopefully to get as much of the speeches as possible down there. And I'll switch off for now just while we walk down so that I get a chance to charge the batteries up a little bit. I'll swap the batteries over and make sure that we don't run out mid-speech. Hopefully that will be Jeremy Corbyn and others. And join me then in about 20, 25 minutes time.